Hi, my name is Aksik, aka Annika. Welcome to my channel. Super happy to see you here. And without further ado, today is a third part of coloring this page, which is TLC by RJ Hampson. It's a page that he drew for a charity event, kind of a big effort we made in February 2026 for trying to get some funds for World Cancer Research Organization, and his contribution was that page. Basically, it was just created for this event and was only available, it is only available in this moment, during this month, and everything that is paid for this page, whether you pay $1 or more, that's up to your decision, up to you, but you can pay, is going to the World Cancer Research Fund as well. And also now everybody who donates anything, I think, gets that page free. So yeah, that's the spiel. I still have links in my description there. You might be seeing this video much later, in which case, yeah, it's just some useful, hopefully, things maybe that you can kind of remember and do possibly on your own pages. It does not need to be the same page. Same techniques apply to pretty much everything. So I am today doing the pencils, and I chose Polychromos in this case because this paper has a good bit of tooth, and I don't want to color the whole area. I want to kind of, put some shadows or highlights in and then diffuse them into already existing base, and Prismacolors and softer pencils on this base would show a bit too much texture for my liking if I did that. So I chose slightly harder pencil, which is Polychromos. Any other harder pencil would work just as well. You can do, I'd say Black Widows would work, RJ would work. There's quite a few other harder pencils. I think Barco Red Ore would work. You can just kind of look at your stash in a kind of a harder pencil. Preferably, it would need to have a bit of a more pigmented vibe to it, and also if it's more opaque, it's kind of beneficial. Like Faber-Castell Black Edition would be amazing here as well. So now Burnt Umber is the pencil that I'm using at the moment. So it's 280 Burnt Umber, and I am just going to put darker shadow all around the window, and also kind of anything that shows shadow on the wall, I am going to put kind of a shadow now next to it. Now how I'm doing it is that I press down pretty hard next to the object, and then I release the pressure and I'm get it almost to nothing, and I get this soft effect. Of course, it would work better if I actually got you a bit closer. Okay, maybe even like this, the top of it. So here we go. So I'm just going like this and then diffusing it slightly upwards, or whichever direction I want to diffuse it to. And if I would want to, like, ideally, I would have left the tape in place. But the thing with tape, especially, I was using to fasten it on the page, I was using that sort of a masking tape, which is essentially just black painting, masking tape, which holds it down pretty well because the surface that I was sticking it onto was plastic, and sometimes washi tape doesn't quite hold it in place. It keeps like peeling up and stuff. So I took that tape to hold it down. But what can happen with that is that the longer it stays on, it's almost impossible to get eventually the tape off without kind of a sticky glue residue. the sides of the page, you know, where the tape was. So I just went, nah, and took it off. If I wanted to, I could now put some other tape, you know, next to it here, to kind of, you know, make my work a bit easier. But this one is not obligatory, but I kind of do like to, it's not exactly vignette effect, but just, you know, darken the corners slightly. I wouldn't now go out to the town and, you know, go crazy with it. But just a bit of a extra darkness there. Now, my phone is pretty good at cancelling kind of weird background noises, and it even often cancels my microphone, I meant, my phone, even cancels the sharpener noise for a bit for me, but I'm not sure, so I'm just going to say a word of warning. My son is playing with his online friends in the room next door here, and they can get loud. Yeah, if you hear somebody roaring or laughing incredibly loud, then that would be my son. Okay, and I'm just putting, now, here again, just a little bit. I'm not going nuts with it, just one pencil, and I'm putting it pretty much everywhere, you know, here as well, like here underneath the balloons. Also, even though the sun is kind of throwing the beams onto the wall here, the window frame is still going to have a shadow next to it, and sharp shadow, so I'm putting it next to that as well. I'm not going to put strong shadows here because it's not the shadow of the chair. That's the thing, you know. It's not close to the wall. That's what I'm meaning by it. So these are kind of soft diffuse shadows. I won't darken them here. What I will darken here are these shadows here a bit. Just define them a little bit. The darker spots. The diffused, kind of a softer shadows are already there. I'm just going to kind of darken them a bit. If I feel that I need something darker, I am grabbing dark sepia, 175 or 175. And it's just, and here I have already put some shadow, extra shadow, because the balloons will throw shadows onto the walls. Now, and I'm going to put some here between the balloons as well. Oh, there we are. And now I'm going to go underneath the window here. I hope you can see. So the problem with being, you know, zoomed in like this is that if I forgot to look occasionally, which I can very easily do, then I can just work away totally out of shot. So I hope I won't do that too much to you. And I'm going to go with the same way now, with the same pencil, which is Burnt Umber 280 Polychromos, but any dark neutralish brown would do. Or if you made your wall red, dark red, you know, it doesn't really, you know, this is not really kind of like tutorial or color along in that sense. You can, of course, color along. You're welcome to, and it should be easy enough because I am literally, you know, doing everything on the camera. But you should be feeling enabled to essentially just kind of pick up, maybe, you know, if you need to pick up something, then pick up the principle, how I'm doing things, and then you don't need to use the same colors. You don't have to have the same page. You can apply the same principles to pretty much any page you color. Okay, and here, I don't know if I'm going to put tiny bit here, just above the skirting board, tiny bit. Okay, and I'm going to put darker area of the skirting board, this kind of a stripe here. Okay. All right, and the bottom of the skirting board, I'm taking now the dark sepia, and I am going, this is quite dark. It's very much as dark as you can get without going black in Polychromos set. Oh yeah, and light fasts would work really nicely here as well, I suspect. And possibly Loomies also, because Loomies have pretty smooth texture. They probably would work pretty nicely on this paper. Okay, so now I have that one done. And I'm grabbing here Naples yellow, which is 185 Naples yellow. And I'm adding a bit of a, like, you can see even Polychromos, which is considered to be a transparent pencil. But if you put it onto the dark enough background, it will still give you highlights. Okay, let me see. I'll get it as close as I can now, possibly. You can see here, I just put it here on top, and I've created a bit of a slightly more highlighted areas. And I work gently, or if I need to, you know, get it down pretty sharp, I put it down pretty sharp, and then I just release the pressure again and diffuse it into the previous color. And I have now the darker area, I have now the highlight, and I have the mid-tone, which was already there. And this skirting board was supposed to be dark. So let's do it with the other side as well. I already have the dark here. You know, this is the kind of mid-tone, which is very dark. The skirting board, the brown that I already put down, the alcohol marker. So I'm putting the Naples yellow here on the top of that skirting board to highlight that a bit. Now I had put dark pencil here, but I can, you know, even accentuate it even a bit more. And then I'm also wanting to bring this bit of skirting board slightly forward with more texture. So I'm now working a bit gentler, but I'm putting Naples yellow on top of it, and then I'm diffusing it out. And now we have a three-dimensional skirting board. You know, it wasn't a huge amount of work to it. And we're doing essentially the same thing now with most of the woodwork. So I'm deciding where the highlights are going to be, and I'm putting the Naples yellow in the first, because I don't really want to lose the highlights. Okay, this one I should have actually blended it out more. Sometimes I put the darker pencil down first, sometimes I put the lighter pencil down first. So that was burnt umber that I put down first, and this is sepia. Okay. Now, and I'm putting sepia here next to the handle, because, you know, there would be darker shadows there. These things are kind of sticking out from the window. And now I'm here in the window frame, I'm making the main shadows with sepia, because I need darkness here. So I'm putting it only where I really want kind of a dark bits. So I'm taking them over the, making it over the kind of a joints where the window should be opening, you know. Instead of having like bank ink line here, I essentially went over it and kind of diffused to both of the sides. And now I have more natural, you know, that looks like it's an opening, you know. This is the, you know, the crack of the window. And I'm now going underneath here, this bit in the middle in my head is kind of sticking forward a bit. So I'm putting sepia next to it all the way. Like this, and now I'm diffusing it slightly. And on the other side as well. And to be honest, you know, I should probably edit it a little, because uncut here isn't going to give you much benefit. You know, if I show you how I do the element, then, you know, there's no point me doing the whole thing on the camera. You might be just wasting your time. And I'm taking the same, sepia again, and I'm now diffusing it outwards a bit gently. Basically just very, very gentle touch of the paper. So I wouldn't have very sharp line there. Okay. And I am also taking it to the other side. Okay, I'm going to put some shadows behind the balloons here as well, but to the other side of the frame. And now I need to sharpen. Because this bit here, I wanted the pencil to be a bit sharper, because that decorative bit here is also showing shadows. Okay. And I'm diffusing it now again. And if you want to, you can just put a little bit of that very thin line of that darker pencil on the outside of the window frame as well, just to get it standing further away from the wall. Now, and now you can see here, you know, how this side is flatter, and I'm building something here, and yeah, I have it here too, and now, and I'm also taking a what's it called, burnt sienna, and now I'm putting a little bit of burnt sienna in the middle of this arch that is standing away from the rest of the window. Just to give it a bit more dimension, otherwise it'll look very flat. Okay. Now, and okay, I need to do that side as well, so I'm taking sepia again, and I need to do this side as well, like that. And I'm putting some pencil here, and here, and here. Now, I hope you can kind of see, because it's very visible and very distinctive in real life, but I suspect that, you know, on the lights it doesn't show as well. So now I'm taking the Naples yellow. I'm holding it pretty gently. I'm not putting heavy pressure on it, but I'm going to be almost brushing it onto those arches that are kind of exposed to the sunlight here. So just, I'm even going over with the line, the black line with it. I'm not going to cover the lines here. So where I feel that I want to diffuse them, I'm going over them with a lighter pencil like this. And I'm doing the same thing here. So I'm just diffusing it slightly. This is not covering the line, this is kind of softening the line. This Polychromos isn't obviously the the most opaque pencil out there. But as you can see, you can still get some effect with it. And here again, I'm going to essentially go over the edge with it. Okay. All right. And here as well. Like there's some more shadows I need to draw in there. That would look a bit better. But at the moment we're working on this. So I'm now once again brushing it very gently, kind of holding the pencil sideways. And you're better off if you at least, works better for me if I move the page a bit. So the angle would be correct for me for doing that kind of a brushing motion. There you go. And as I said, it does not need to be this page. Okay, and just I'm putting a bit of burnt sienna here in the middle because I had not put it in some area here and it kind of looked a bit naked. Okay, so now it's starting to look a bit more three-dimensional there. So now I need to also get Polychromos. See, one thing that I find Polychromos, we all know that Polychromos is not very good with light tones, but sometimes I use, because of that, kind of like weird colors. So I'm taking light flesh, which is essentially kind of slightly pinkish, but I'm going to use it here as kind of like a beigey tone to just bring it out from the wall a bit. So I don't want that to be very warm and bright yellow like here, because there's no sunlight coming from there, but I still want to bring it out a bit. So I'm using cooler. Okay, I need to put some sepia in there to kind of create a bit of a 3D effect. Okay, and a bit of light flesh, and light flesh is 132. And I'm going to do the same thing with the window frame, that kind of a frame that is standing a bit apart or away from the window frame. On the top of it, I am going to put down that really dark, really light, fleshy pink. Just so it would also be kind of lifted from the frame, but at the same time, there's no sun there, so. Okay, and I'm now turning this on again, because, it's easier when I turn. So I'm putting little dots of it here on this wooden carving bit design. And now I'm just once again brushing it. The same way I brushed the yellow in. It almost feels like brushing, like very gentle application. We don't want like very harsh lines here or very bright light color. Sorry about that. So doing this here. And just gently like this. And now the window frame, you can see yourself. With the very little work, it's starting to now look pretty three-dimensional. So I'm putting a bit more shadows here. I'm creating a shadow underneath that handle. I'm putting a bit more shadows here around the latch. Okay, and I have forgotten to do, the bottom of the window. I might do actually out, not on the camera. I'll do these exactly the same way as I did the top, and I'll be back. The window is now the frame. I think I'm going to leave it as is. Maybe I'll add a little bit of burnt sienna here just to soften that bit. But yeah, it's mostly done. So now I'm doing essentially the same thing with the rest of the kind of dark wood elements. Now I already put some pencil into that frame as well. I kind of forgot that I needed to film that. So now we need to do the bed and the table, because they're essentially the same color. This is how I kind of, it just happened like that in my head. So now I'm going to take this dark sepia again, and I'm going to put dark shadows where I feel that, you know, it should be the most dark. So this bit, the white isn't falling here. Here should be the shadow of the bunny's ear, so I'm making that pretty dark. And that here should be also, there should be a shadow. And also, you know, where the pillow is kind of, you know, from underneath the pillow, there should be a bit of a shadow there too. And now this bit here underneath the pillow should be just, you know, almost black, you know, that dark. And here as well, there's bits like the shape of the bed, you know, how it's going. It pretty much should be almost, you know, very, very dark. Almost like there shouldn't be many color variations or shading there. Just have to make sure that this area is pretty dark, because there's no light there at all. Okay, and here too, and now this table that we have here, the little bedside table, I'm also going to put some of that dark sepia, which is 175, just in case it needs reminding. And I'm putting some there. I'm putting some here onto that kind of little circular base also. Okay, and the shadow under, you know, where the carrot and the glass are throwing a shadow, I'm going to put a little bit there as well, just to kind of make it nice and immediate dark. And then I'm taking the burnt umber, which is 280, just in case, you know, you have them only written down by numbers. But in my case, I often forget to say one or the other, or either. I have this tendency just to pick up the pencils, not even looking at the color names, which I've warned about you before you. And now I am taking the burnt sienna. Now, all of these pencils are getting pretty low. Well, yeah, they're getting shorter than I like. I should start ordering my spares. So I have some of the colors. I already have spares for a couple, but I'm pretty sure I don't have burnt sienna, and that's a color I use a lot. Yeah. So I need to get put in order soon. There is luckily one shop in Ireland that actually sells Polychromos open stock. Actually, there's a couple, but you know, one that has okay prices, because they tend to be very expensive. They're most kind of Irish art stores and quite dear. Okay, and I'm kind of just softening the shadows and widening them a little bit here on the table as well, just to give it a bit more. Okay, and here I need to do the carpet later, And shush. We will now take the Naples yellow, and I'm just putting some here. Naples yellow essentially is becoming sunlight in this picture for me. That's, you know, if I want to put sunlight onto some other color, I tend to use. That is one of the more opaque pencils of Polychromos as well. One of the reasons being that by its nature, Naples yellow is pretty opaque as a pigment. So, yeah. And I might even like drop it, you know, in a places like pillow and just, you know, here on the sheet over the duvet cover, maybe a bit of a bunny. I'm just dropping it, you know, everywhere since I have it in my hand. I probably will eventually drop it even more. And I'm not planning this picture or this page to be like one of my super contrasty ones. I kind of want softer atmosphere here, kind of friendly, warm, healing atmosphere, peaceful. So I'm going for that in case it doesn't come out. And okay, so I have this table pretty much done. I now need to go back to the dark sepia, and here the darkest shadows once again. You know, this bit is going to be pretty dark, and this bit now is totally away from the light. So I'm putting a good bit of the dark sepia here. Shadow underneath the clipboard, and now I'm also accentuating those the boards that are making up the bed frame or the, so I'm just making sure that it's nice and dark here. Okay, and here at the bottom of the, I'm going to put some extra down so it would be really nice and dark. Okay, and now I'm grabbing a burnt umber 280, and that is slightly lighter and slightly warmer than the, well, it is lighter and warmer, but it's still fairly neutral. That's what I like about Polychromos. One of the main things I do like are the, you know, some nice neutral browns. They're actually quite hard to find in many sets. Most of the sets, especially budget sets, all the browns seem to be very kind of a red or bright yellow leaning, and more neutral, kind of a almost grayish browns are hard to find, but Polychromos does have them. So I've put these ones in here. I'm also going to take that, I didn't put that pencils onto a headboard, so I'm just going to kind of soften my shading out with that one here. Now I'm taking the burnt sienna, which is, it's going to last this picture at least. I will need it with the fox as well. Yeah, I'm kind of trying to hold on to the nature of this drawing that is kind of a bit cartoony and whimsical and reasonable, a bit simplistic, you know. So I don't want to go super elaborate here with the shading, but you know, I still want to put some bit of a shadow down here and there, and you know, fix everything. Okay, and I'm making this side of the clipboard darker because it would be blocked from the light. And now I'm taking the Naples yellow again, and I'm just going to drop it where I feel that, you know, there's still going to be sunshine blasting onto the items. So I put it here onto the table already. I might even put it a tiny bit here and here. It's also going to be pretty strong, and I'm going to put it on top of this clipboard like this as well, and on the bed frame like this. Okay, and that is pretty much that. Now I want to do the carpet, and I'm not going to put these away altogether, but I'm going to change the camera now, possibly like this, so you can see the full picture. And as you can see, you know, the bed now does have more dimension, and the table as well. And actually I could do that tree behind the window. That is Van Dyke Brown 176. I'm gonna grab that one, and I'm just going to do that in a fairly laconic way. You know, if it's overlapping something, I'm going to put some shadows in there. I'm going to put tiny bit of texture like this, just a little pulls. Okay, let's get you closer so you can actually see what I'm talking about. You know, if it's overlapping something, I'm going to put a bit of a shadow there, here and there. So, you know, this is behind other branches. I'm going to make this bit darker. This bit as well, diffusing it out. And then when there's like bigger and wider area, I'm going to kind of pull in fairly. I'm trying to be kind of like a flicky motion, some kind of streaks and stripes that will look like a texture of the tree. Okay, here, this bit needs to be darker, because it's quite far away. We don't need to go into great detail, but a little bit of a shading here and there is going to be beneficial. Okay, and this bit here in the snow, making this pretty dark, the bit that is coming out of the snow. And I'm taking now that light flesh, just pulling it in here and there. Okay, this one also needs to have some pencil on it. And I'm taking now Naples yellow and just putting it in onto the left-hand side of the tree. Not everywhere, but, you know, a little bit here and there. But not kind of all the way, just to the left-hand side. And that's about it. I'm not going to go into the huge detail with that. Now I need to do something with that house. So I am pulling out Bistre. Is it Bistre or Bistre? Okay, not a clue. How am I supposed to say it? Bistre, yeah, I think so. Anyways, I'm going to put that here underneath the roof line and diffusing it into the house, because I don't want to go over the whole house. And here where the side of the house is supposed to be in shadow, I'm putting that all over the place. And once again, this house is in the distance. We're not going crazy with the detail there. I might, you know, kind of change the outlines there to white, because in my head that's the snow, but I haven't really decided that yet. Okay, so I'm putting the Bistre back at the moment. And what is the next step we are going to do? Oh, carpet. We meant to do the carpet. Now, I have... Where is the walnut brown? Okay, so there's walnut brown. So that was one of my spares, because I, for some reason, couldn't find it here, which is weird. Oh, found it. Sorry. I don't want to start the spare one. Okay, so walnut brown, which is 177, and now I'm going here where the darkest parts of the carpet are. Okay, I'm out of the shot. No, here, we're working on the carpet. So I'm going, this is the darkest now, so I'm just putting it down where there's absolutely no light is going to be, light is going to be totally blocked in that area. It's very dark and very neutral, grayish brown. So only where it's really needed. Okay, and this bit here. Okay, and I'm also going to put it in front of the suitcase. And if it's like something immediately very close to it, throwing the shadow, I'm putting it down quite heavy pressure, so I get intense result, and then I am diffusing it slightly forward or to the side, or whichever way I'm working. And this corner here will be absolutely dark as well. There's going to be nothing there light-wise. And also the ground behind the bed here. There's no light getting through here, so this is going to be nice and dark as well. And I'm leaving these bits alone. And I'm also going to put it into I want the inside of the suitcase to be pretty dark, but I couldn't get it dark enough with the alcohol marker, so I just put in now the walnut brown here, and that gave me that darkness that I wanted. And here also inside, because it's that neutral undertone goes really well with the kind of a very muted, very neutral, almost like greenish brown of this suitcase or a medical case. So I'm putting a bit of a shadow here and there in the suitcase as well. And here I'm kind of flicking it upwards in small areas. That often works the best. Instead of trying to kind of do the circular movements, flick it, and that works essentially the same way that you diffuse the color upwards or sideways or whatever you want to do. Now, I think that's pretty much all we need here. And now I'm taking the same pencil. Actually, I prefer something a bit lighter. I might take the Bistro again. Yeah, that will work better. And just putting a bit more of a shape and color down here. That's Bistro. But I'm leaving the kind of top area uncolored, and often the kind of corners as well, just to have some highlights. On the suitcase. And here at the top, at the front of the suitcase, now I'm taking the walnut brown again, which is 177. It's just putting some extra darkness around that handle. And now I'm taking the Bistro again, which is 179. Okay, I need to first do the walnut brown because I wanted to put a little bit of a shadow underneath the cat's paws here, so it wouldn't look as 2D. And Now I'm taking the Bistro, which is 179. Am I correct? Yes, I am. Surprise, surprise. And I'm darkening the front of the suitcase. And I'm trying to now leave it so it wouldn't go totally to the corner. Just softly darkening, kind of almost creating a rectangle, slightly rounded rectangle here at the front of the collar. No. And that's pretty much it. I'm leaving this one alone. Now with the carpet, you know, I put the walnut brown everywhere that I could really. And I'm also dropping a little bit darkness into that bottle as well, because it is transparent. But there's liquid also here. The liquid is going to be still its own color. And now I don't know if I'm going to put texture into the rug here, but first, before I contemplate that, I'm taking the same walnut brown and I'm putting the shadow underneath them. I presume it's a hamster. Something hamster-ish anyway. Now, that's better. It's not hovering kind of in the air over the carpet anymore. We have grounded it. Okay. I'm just creating little shadows here and there. Oh, this bit here, I didn't finish it properly. I am taking burnt sienna and kind of finishing, blending those two colors together. Yeah, it looks a little bit neater. It doesn't take long, but you know, the result is kind of, in my mind anyway, worth it. Okay, so now we have the rug done. Shadows wise, I don't plan to put much here. I might, you know, put some extra here, but to be honest, it's already down there, you know, with the fox's tail. So I'm not planning to take it much wider than that, or, you know, making it stronger than that. So I also need to now do the I don't know if I'm going to put texture in. I'm going to, let me see if I need to put in some texture or not. These are fine liners. They are my Stadler fine liners, and I might change my mind, but I might stick to the idea. I just took, you know, a couple of earthy colors for the carpet, and if I do that, then I will probably kind of start doing it on the camera and then do the rest of it off camera, because I don't think it's going to be a riveting material to watch. So here I'm going to see, so this is, they don't have color names, but they do have numbers, but the numbers are not easy to read. That's 016. Yeah, but, you know, as I said, not easy to read. So what I'm doing here is, you know, depending on the area's color. Now, I took this one, which is the lightest one. It's kind of a like slightly ochreish color. I'm taking it to the lightest areas and I just scribble and like, but not even very organized, very circular scribbles, but I'm trying to make them fairly haphazard but quite tight, you know, so it wouldn't look like something specifically. It would look some sort of a texture. And I don't know if I can get you closer. Here you can kind of see what I'm doing, you know. it just gives a bit of an interest and texture. It doesn't take very long, but you know, once you commit, you kind of need to commit, and you can't go very wide, you know, with it. You need to keep it reasonably tight, which of course makes the process a little bit longer. But I think it's worth it at the end, because I want that flooring look like a little bit like there's some sort of a rug or carpet down there. So, you know, I'm just making, you know, the scribbles don't have to be organized. It's actually better if they're not, but you do need to make sure that you cover the area well, that there's no kind of a big holes. The objective is to kind of create this tight texture. If you feel that, you know, some bits are too naked, that is, you know, very visibly, you know, one or two lines through it, then go over it again, you know, changing a bit angles and how you do it, you know, and scribble it, and it'll definitely improve things. No, so. And if you feel like it's getting too uniform, you know, kind of hold the pen once again, maybe a bit further away from the tip, and you're kind of forced to become a bit looser. So I'm taking now the, which number is that? I know it has a number. That's 73. And to me, that's now kind of like a burnt sienna. And it's also, that pen seems to be getting like, this is a pen that I've used a lot. And as a result, this pen is one of the very few ones, and I've had those for a long time, those fine liners. This is one of the fine liners that is kind of getting a bit to its last legs. So I'm just kind of, I keep it loose, but at the same time, make sure that you have plenty of marks in any area. So Stadler, once again, okay, well, that's 76 as well. How come? Was the previous one 76 as well? Yeah, 73, so my bad. It was like, but it's the same color. And I'm taking now that very close to the areas that are the darkest. And this one I won't take out from these areas much at all, but I am going to do really dark areas with that one now. Like the one here underneath the table is going to be totally done with that one, because that's going to be very dark. And I didn't really get it as dark as I wanted with the pencil or with the marker, so I'm taking it further with the scribble. Okay, and now I'm going back to that kind of a burnt sienna color, and I'm now going over the edge of that dark area with the burnt sienna, which is not writing as well as it once was, so I'm struggling with it a bit. And now I'm kind of blending them together, essentially, by going over the transition area several times with scribbles. And now I'm making sure that this burnt sienna scribble is essentially everywhere. There you go. So here as well. And I'm not going to go mad with it. Like here, I didn't put it into this corner, the texture. And I'm just going to put some in. It really, it's quite subtle. If you don't pay very close attention, if you don't, just put your nose to the paper, you don't even notice it immediately, but you do get a sense of something soft and fuzzy on the floor. There we go. And this bit here is pretty much the last area. I'm going to put it down. So I'm going to scribble it nicely into the dark area, making sure that there's kind of a transition, that they overlap. And then bringing it out. And yes, sometimes it's a good idea also to put some scribbles in with gel pen as well, but then I would kind of need to commit a bit more and kind of put the lighter scribbles in, but they would need to be not just in one spot and not just in a couple of haphazard ones. I would kind of need to keep that one on as well. And that's, a pretty big floor area, and I just don't feel to like doing it, but I think that already looks pretty all right. I think that should be sufficient. Now I'm going to put the fine liners away so things wouldn't get out of control here on the desk. And what is the next element we're going to do? Now, I think we might do the white areas and kind of things that we pretend are white. So essentially, I'm taking this pillow. I don't think I'm going to put much more shadow into it, except I'm taking the warm gray 5, and I'm just next to the bunny's head, where there would be like immediate shadow. That I feel needs to be slightly darker. So I'm just kind of, excuse me, creating a bit more of a shadow here, and maybe, add a little bit extra here as well then. And I'm not going to make this bit darker because it's, the idea is that the ears are not actually against the pillow, they're away from pillow, but throwing a light onto the pillow. So it needs to be fairly diffused and lighter, the shadow. Sharp shadows are only where the object is actually touching the surface, or very close to the surface they are showing the shadow onto. So, and here I'm doing, once again, bit of a shadow where the sheet is kind of turning on itself a little bit, just to give it a bit of dimension. It's not super necessary there, but it kind of would work nice. And here I'm thinking this suitcase would throw a bit of a shadow onto that sheet as well, to block the light here. So I'm going to put that shadow in here. It's pretty dark shadow. And now I'm seeing, I know that I had my Polychromos white somewhere nearby. Okay. This is no typical. Oh, found it. Okay. All right. And I'm taking the white now here. And in some areas where there's a tiny bit of bleeding maybe, or, especially if I am trying to depict essentially what is white here, I want to, I've lost I want to make sure that some areas are actually kind of pretty bright white. So I'm bringing the white back essentially. This is now the warm gray 5 again. I forgot to make sure that there's a kind of a nice sharp shadow next to Bonnie's pools. Okay. Alrighty. And yeah, I'm going to put white in some areas a bit, more like distinctive, or cleaning up. Maybe there was a little bit of a bleed, for some alcohol marker. So and here I'm just flicking in white. So I wanted to lighten that area a little bit. It was getting a bit too gray to my taste. So I'm knocking the gray back a bit here. And just putting a tiny bit of white on top of it, and it'll look just better. And also the shadow here is more kind of a distinctive that way. Okay, I'm leaving the white pencil out. And now I am going to see if I'm going to do something about the snow. So I don't think I am going to do much. Let me see if I have anything here that I feel like I should be putting there. Maybe light ultramarine, very, very slightly. And I mean just very slightly here. Just in the, where there would be darkest areas. I don't want to go super dark, but there would be kind of shadows there. So I'm dropping the light ultramarine here, and maybe a little bit here, and then onto the snow on top of the house as well. And this cap we essentially did with the same kind of a color. So I'm dropping a little bit of light ultramarine here on the darkest part of the cap, and where it's kind of curving to the face. And here I'm just taking the white again. That's Polychromos white, not Prisma white, but in a good toothy paper. And over alcohol markers, that works pretty well as well. And has a bit less texture, and I don't want to fight with the texture of the pencils. I don't feel like it at the moment. So now it looks pretty white, okay? And here, these elements also is ultramarine, light ultramarine. So the number of light ultramarine is 140. So I'm going to put this middle actually needs to be black, I think. Yeah. And I'm not going to, overdo with shading here, but I am going to slightly accentuate. And I also want a little bit of that ultramarine here in the snow. But no, only in some areas, and not as an even band of color, but kind of a here and there, fairly uneven application. It just looks better that way. Okay, so that's applied now. Since I now remember this bit, I want to put a little bit of a cool shadow in there. So cold gray 5 Okay, just to kind of intensify things here a bit. And this middle needs to be black, so I'm literally taking black, which is also Polychromos black. And there's going to be no reflections, nothing there. It just needs to be black, that middle. Okay. And here I'm going to put some black onto this rim as well. And then I'm taking white and just kind of very gently put some color, like lighten the top of it. And here as well. Give it a bit more shape. And I'm taking the black again and just going over it like this. So white and black, I don't think I need to shout out the pencil names and numbers. I'm sure you can find them without me. I think white and black is enough. Okay, and just with the black, I'm actually kind of deepening the shadows a bit on all the, whatever they are, pipes and metal bits of the apparatus, or that's name I have forgotten. It'll come to me in the most silly moment, but at the moment I can't say it. What is that thing for listening? Still can't remember. Okay, so now I have that bit done. Oh, I'm putting some extra kind of a sharper shadows onto the metal bits of the clipboard as well. This way it looks more metal. Okay, and maybe here. Yeah. And I will now need green. Okay, I'm going to put white and black away and put away the gray. So I need dark green. So I'm taking chrome oxide green. And here, you know, those are pretty simplistic leaves. So I am not going to go like super elaborate with them. I'm just going to give them nice dark shadow about halfway, and then trying to leave tiny bit of lighter area at the edge here as well. But you know, on the darker half. I'm going from the middle, moving towards the edge, and then trying to leave some lighter area towards the edge. Now, as I said, I am not going to be covering the lines on that image. I just don't think it wants it. I, you know, genuinely don't think it does. Okay. Just, you know, not overdoing it. And now when I was putting alcohol marker down on these leaves, I tried to leave, not all of the leaves, but on most of the leaves, kind of like a white rim at the top. So we'll see if we can do something with that. Chrome oxide green. And that's it. There's nothing else there. Okay. And now I'm taking something, but actually that Naples yellow would work really well here. And I'm trying to do the tops of the leaves, especially where I did manage to leave the kind of like a white rim at the edge. I'm doing these with Naples yellow. Here we go. I'm not doing the whole other half Naples yellow, it's just the top, like this. Okay. How's it going? And where are we now? And now I'm taking a gel pen to it, I think. I'm going to do the outside. I might as well do it now as I'm going on. Gel pen or acrylic pen? Not even sure. Let me see. I have an acrylic pen that might actually work. That is the one Maria sent me. My Posca situation hasn't been great. And to be honest, Poscas have not been very reliable for me for quite a while. Okay, so I'm going to put it around the smoke. Yeah, at the moment, I don't think with that kind of fairly dark line art, it works for me. I might want the gel pen after all, because that's usually on the first go anyway, it's more opaque for me. Yeah. The acrylic pens work better, you know, that slight transparency actually works better in some areas. But here, I don't want to fight with it. And I want the snow, you know, pretty quickly, the lines covered. I don't want to do several, you know, building here. So I will do all the edges here, the lines on the roof, going over them with white. And once again, with gel pens, one of the main tricks, at least, you know, in my books, is to touch paper with very light pressure, like almost no pressure. And then the gel just flows so much better if you don't press onto the nib. Okay. And all right. And here also, I'm now doing the snow. Just pulling it down. Going up with it. This is probably not the most riveting of content, so I might speed it up. It all depends how much time I have for actual editing. Because, you know, I need to... Sadly, the weekend isn't only for coloring. Also, you know, I would myself prefer to do some other things sometimes as well. At the moment, especially because the Winter Olympics are on, I enjoy watching Winter Olympics. So I will be a bit busy with that. Well, busy is a bit busy watching Olympics. Yeah, but you know, I also have, you know, I would like to also find some time to read or listen to books or whatever, you know, do other things as well. So I wouldn't get total tunnel vision with coloring. And at the moment, this month, I have not been feeling like super inspired with coloring. So I need to kind of give myself a bit of a space so I wouldn't get into the slump. Okay, so now we have the snow. I'm not going to take lines out anywhere else on this image. Possibly those leaves, because they kind of now annoy me because the way they're sitting. In the snow, and you know, they're kind of now the fact that they have black lines is really shouting at me because I took the lines out. So what I'm doing here is, this is now you're saying, but you're not changing anything. But the effect is, at least to the naked eye, you get better effect. I took colorful blacks, green, and it does change the vibe. And you do have this kind of a subtle dark green color to it, and they do look better that way. Like if I don't sometimes like black line art, I don't necessarily go and find, kind of lighten it up or go over it white, because that doesn't usually look that great. But I would, take another very dark color. And it just kind of softens and just, I don't know, makes it more illustrative, kind of they fit into the page better. But that only starts happening if you start covering lines in one place, then pretty much every other place starts shouting at you that, oh, I want my lines kind of covered as well. So you need to be very conscious about it, because if you start doing it in one spot, then pretty much it kind of escalates from there. How you can, here I can get away with it because I'm only doing it behind the window. It's like a separate scene there. So I'm not doing it anywhere else. I might use gel pens as a bit of kind of like putting in some highlights or dots or whatever someplace on the page, but I'm not going to be covering lines. Okay, so that's done. The behind the window is done. I'm not going to touch that anymore. It's just going to otherwise get out of the control. Now, I suspect that this video is getting quite long, but I thought I might at least do maybe one of the characters, maybe Fox, since the Fox is kind of, I have the pencils almost out, so I'm taking burnt sienna here, and I'm not doing like huge amount of changing here in the Fox. I'm not trying to get it like super high contrast of anything. As I said before, I want the scene to be pretty soft and very warm. This is, I've used like super warm colors here. I wanted it to feel like safe and comforting. So I'm bringing now kind of the color in, or the shading in, with strokes like this, just upward. Because here RJ already had kind of strokes drawn in, a little bit of a hairiness. So I kind of felt I needed to give some sort of a little bit of a texture there. But as I said, I'm not going to go overboard with it. I'm not going to try and make it look hairy. So I'm going to put a bit of a shadow around its eyes, just for funsies. Okay. And yeah, bit of a color in. Now here I actually feel need for kind of lighter pencils. So I'm grabbing my Brutfuner set and just taking, because Brutfuner macaroons are relatively opaque. So I grabbed from that set Mimosa and Jonah Brilliant, which basically means bright yellow. I don't think my French is non-existent, so please don't judge me. So I'm now putting in a couple of little strokes here and there, just between other strokes. Just a tiny bit, just a little bit of a texture here and there. And this was now the mimosa, and that's now the name that I don't know how to pronounce. Jean-Billon. That's just butchery, okay? I'm not gonna do that. And with the strokes, just main thing is to try to keep them in the direction you imagine the hair is growing. Okay, and I'm taking now the burnt sienna again. And just, taking little strokes out here and there. I had thought that I won't put them in, but then I saw that RJ had kind of put them in slightly. So I'm not going nuts with them, but I will put a little bit in. And then I'm taking a bit darker pencil, which is burnt umber. And just at the edges here, I'm bringing a couple of strokes upwards. So just give a bit of a contrast, and also, with the fur, you have really light bits that the light is hitting, and you have really dark little areas where the no light is getting through. Hairs are overlapping and so on. So, and I'm not gonna do much more here, except I want to brighten the fox a bit. So I am taking in the Polychromos set dark cadmium orange, which is 115, and I'm bringing some of the kind of a brighter orange in strokes as well. So we don't need to really color very extensively here. We already have the color kind of a soft blend down from when we put the alcohol markers down. So now all we essentially needed was just a tiny bit of texture. Putting a bit more texture, I felt that it would be beneficial with the dark umber here. Just so it would be a bit more. Okay, and here now on the paws, there's not going to be a huge amount of fur texture because the paws, the hair is going to be short there. And also it's a very small area, so you would be just wasting your time if you wanted to kind of create something really there. So I'm just putting a bit darker shadows in, so I put in dark umber. Now I'm in with burnt sienna. Okay, and then I'm in with the dark cadmium orange. Just to kind of brighten it up. And then I'm taking also Naples yellow here, because, she's standing next to the window. And here I'm taking that Naples yellow into that highlight bit here as well. So you have the sunlight hitting the face of the fox. Okay, and now we also have the tail of the fox to do. So I'm doing the same thing, but this time I'm taking right away, I'm taking the burnt umber. So I'm putting that in the darkest areas here, and I'm bringing it down a little bit, a couple of strokes like this. And I'm also making sure that I'm making nice shadow with it here, because, and I'm also putting it a little bit here underneath the sleeve, and just kind of shaping the paw. Now I'm taking the burnt sienna, and I'm doing essentially the same thing. I'm bringing it down in strokes, more and more, kind of further and further. Here in the leg, I'm leaving only small area there that is not colored, and in the paw here as well, I'm just diffusing it slightly, diffusing the previous color, which is burnt umber, with it slightly. Here I'm taking cadmium orange, and I'm going over the full area with it as again, like this. And here I'm actually just letting it to be the kind of a highlight color, the lightest color. And here I'm essentially doing the same thing, but I will put a tiny bit of Naples yellow here. Okay, and I will also put a bit of Naples yellow on top of the tail, because the light might be hitting it. I'm not sure if it would, but... And now I'm taking the mimosa again, and I'm just putting some little strokes of lighter color in as well. It doesn't really stick very well at the moment, so maybe I'll just put in some little strokes with white, just a little bit, not overdoing it. Okay, and now the lighter parts of the fox's face. Let me see, what color would that be? It's kind of a whitish, but it's very warm white. So maybe I could do them not with green gold. That's the thing with, that's now once again the lack of certain colors. So maybe brown ochre. I'm gonna sharpen it. Okay, and I'm going to put brown ochre here a little bit. Now, I'm not trying not to overdo here, because we don't want to overdo. This area is supposed to be white, and I've already put some shadows in there with alcohol markers, so we don't want to overdo it. So I'm putting a little bit here under the kind of a mouth area to kind of give the shadow a little bit underneath the nose here, and in the tail as well, a couple of strokes like this, taking them out. And now I'm grabbing white, which is Polychromos white again, and just kind of going over it with strokes, like this. And I won't do much more in that area at all, because otherwise it'll just kind of gets too much. And now with eyes, let's see if I have nice and dark color. So I'm taking Payne's Gray 181, and I'm actually, the eyes are very small and they are tight. So I'm going a little bit into the kind of a white of the eye, and I'm very, very softly applying some Payne's Gray into it. And then I'm taking the white, and I'm going over it and over the white of the eye, and it kind of diffuses it slightly and gives me a slightly better pupil than what there was there. Not pupil, but the white of the eye, sorry. And here I'm doing the same thing. Here the markers went into the eyes as well, so I need to kind of brighten them a bit, and that's what I did. I hope you can see, but I brightened them in the way that there's already kind of tiny bit of a kind of a shadow or more of a gray in there, because otherwise, if the eyes are too white, they just don't look great. Okay, and this is pretty much it for the body of the fox. Now I'm taking the same Payne's Gray, and I'm darkening the costume, the nurse's or the doctor's uniform of the fox with that Payne's Gray, because that goes really well with that muted blue that I have going here. So I'm just putting it kind of quickly down. I'm trying not to be like, I have this tendency of getting caught in details, and I really don't want to overdo this image. It's not supposed to be, you know, worked to death. It's supposed to be relaxing, but, you know, kind of a simple and warm image, kind of comforting and cute. So we're gonna try and follow those. Okay, I'm going to put a bit of a paint spray pretty much everywhere where things are overlapping or there's a, you know, a crease or a shadow. I'm putting that one in there. Okay. Here in the sleeves as well. Just, you know, making sure that this, okay, and I need to put it under the buttons. Okay. And now I'm going to take some of the white here, and I'm kind of adding a bit of a highlight here and there with white on this side. And then when I'm getting to the sunshine side, I'm taking the Naples yellow and I'm going to add a bit of a highlight there. So this is Naples yellow, and that's 185. See, I'm calling out some of the pencil numbers and some I'm not. So here I'm putting some of that sunlight softly into the uniform. So, you know, all the elements. And I'm taking black. There's some dark color already in the nose, but I want to make sure that it's nice and black. And I'm softening the edge here so it wouldn't look like line. Okay, that's better. Now it looks a bit, and I'm also putting black into the irises or whatever they are. The eyes are too small to actually have irises. They're essentially pupils. And then those buttons, I think I'm going to add some burnt sienna. Just adding a bit of a shape to them. And also to this watch. Since we're working here with it, I might as well kind of add a bit of texture to the, kind of make it slightly goldy. I need green gold now, and I can't find it again. Green gold, okay. I really like to use green gold. Okay, and now after green gold, I am taking white and just accentuating the, because it's such a small areas here, I'm working pretty loosely. Okay, and I need something darker in there as well. Maybe the burnt umber. Because metals are essentially defined by really sharp, dark shadows. And here I'm just going to, I hope it still takes pencils, not, for some reason this area got somehow super burnished. I don't know how, I wasn't even working it very hard, but yeah. And now, you know, because it's so small, there's no point overworking it. And for this magnifying glass thing, I will actually, I think, put something metallic onto the handle and the rim of it, instead of trying to kind of color it, because I don't think it would look great on this one. And I'm going to put some extra white in it, and maybe a bit of a shadow. So I have the Payne's gray here. So just trying to create a bit of a feel of a glass here, but I'm not doing a very good job. But hey, yeah, that's a bit better. That's a bit better. I might use put some gel pen into it eventually as well. So, and then maybe I'm going to finish the cross on the bunny's head as well. So all I need is a really dark. But I'm actually using Caput Mortem Violet, because that gives really good shadows or darkness to the reds. It's good for kind of slightly neutralizing and darkening the reds. And that's all I'm going to use then, I'm not going to go nuts with it. And I'm going to put that in that same pencil here into this cross as well. And then I'm going to use it as a little shadow on its nose. And I'm going to use it in a bit of a shadow as on the bunny's nose. And I might even, in that cocktail thing, add a bit of a darkness here and there with it. Okay, I'd say that one. Oh, and these stripes on the bed, I'm also creating shadows with Caput Mortem. It's kind of really effective for doing that. Caput Mortem is one of my favorite colors in most of the sets. There's many ways it can be used. It's a very useful color. Okay, so here as well, there's going to be a bit of a shadow here because the foot is going to be blocking the sun a little bit. Yeah, so that's pretty much it. Now I am going to finish off this kind of a stop this video for today. Let me see if I can show you how far we are at the moment. It's getting a bit better, but it's getting also very long. And although I will edit it a little bit, I don't want it to get like crazy long. So I might just stop here and finish the image in the next part. So we have some characters to color, the balloons, and then maybe some accents and bits and pieces to do as well here. Most of those elements are mostly colored, but we might add just a pencil stroke here and there, and then a bit maybe of gel pens and decorations, but not a huge amount. So thank you very much for watching. That was it for today. Hope you had good time and you picked up something useful. Once again, thank you so very much for watching, and hopefully see you soon again. Bye bye.